Thom Hartmann here with you. Matt Taibbi on the line with us, writing for Rolling Stone. The article, The Great American Bubble Machine. From tech stocks to high gas prices, Goldman Sachs, he writes, has engineered every major market manipulation since the Great Depression, and they're about to do it again. And they're about to do it again part, Matt, is what I'd like to bring up in the last 4 or 5 minutes here that we've got. Goldman started pushing hard for cap and trade a long time ago. And this year, the firm has spent $3.5 million to lobby climate issues.
Yeah,
Why?
I think that was actually last year. But yeah,
last year, okay.
The banks, Goldman and Morgan Stanley, but particularly Goldman, are very high on cap and trade for the obvious reason that it's going to create a massive new, commodities market. The government, in devising this plan, elected not to make it a straight tax, which would be, levied by the government and collected by the government, and instead created this very arcane and complex system where it's going to be a series of privately traded, transactions that are going to have it's going to create the system. The problem with that is that there are all kinds of actors that have nothing to do with energy that are going to make enormous amounts of money on this. And the reason that they're going to make out so grandly on this scheme is that because the amount of carbon credits is going to be mandated to go down every year by the government because they want to give out fewer and fewer every year,
their value goes up.
Their value automatically goes up. So just imagine the same kind of insanity that we had with the oil market, but imagine it, writ large 10 times, because now the banks can buy up all those features, and they know that they're buying something that's going to increase in price.
They're buying an appreciating asset. On the other hand, though, that's going to make it harder and harder for companies to emit carbon. I mean, there might be a positive societal fallout to that, might there?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's
going to massively drive up the price of carbon.
It is massively going to drive up the price of carbon, and it's going to force companies to innovate, and it's probably going to have a tremendous, tremendously positive effect on the environment.
And in the meantime, Goldman gets rich.
And in the meantime, Goldman gets rich. But all those things probably would have been true if they had just simply decided to levy a tax.
That's right.
The only reason they've done it this way, it seems to everybody involved, is that it allows a whole bunch of other people to make money off this scheme who wouldn't have made any money otherwise.
Well, and this is, I go over to OpenSecrets.org and I look at the donations to some of the leading Democratic and Republican candidates, including President Obama.
Oh, sure.
And I find in the top 10 among their donors, Goldman Sachs, over and over and over again.
Well, Goldman Sachs was President Obama's #1 private campaign contributor last year, and it was also, I believe, the #1 private campaign contributor of all Democratic congressional candidates. They donated about $4.5 million to Democratic candidates last year, and part of that is because, well, what do these guys do for a living? They bet on winners. They knew it was going to be a good year for the Democrats.
Sure.
However, they gave about $4 to Democrats for every $1 they gave to Republicans last year, and so they have an in, with the party in power, and they get what they pay for.
Which brings us to the last question. In a minute and a half or so we have left here. We're talking to Matt Taibbi, The Great American Bubble Machine, his new article in Rolling Stone at rollingstone.com, and of course, if you can pick up the copy, the July 29 through 23 issue. What can be done about this? What should be done about this?
Well, I think there's growing awareness about these issues, and because of that, a lot of these people in Congress are starting to feel the heat about some of this. I mean, a great example is, what happened with the CFTC and the nomination of Gary Gensler. It was purely because this guy worked for Goldman Sachs and had the history that he did, that there was some opposition to his nomination in Congress.
Well, Bernie Sanders has been leading this charge for decades.
Oh, sure, yeah, him and Dennis Kucinich, and all the usual suspects.
But they're a minority of voices.
They are a minority of voices. However, I do think that if enough people get up in arms about this stuff and write their congressman, that it's going to have some kind of effect. You started to see a little bit that even some of the mainstream Democrats were starting to have misgivings about some of the bailout programs. Barney Frank openly telling some of the Goldman Sachs bankers, everybody hates us for hanging out with you guys. I think that's probably the only thing you can do, because electorally there really isn't a choice. I mean, these investment banks have an in with both of the major parties, and there really isn't a third alternative that people can vote for. So the only real solution is to lobby your congressman.
Right. which is exactly what Goldman is doing right now.
Exactly, which is the problem. I mean, it's terrible, but that's what it is.
From 1930, from the mid 30s until the late 80s, early 90s, Goldman was not engaging in this toxic behavior you point out in your article, The Great American Bubble Machine.
Right.
Then they got guys like Phil Gramm and Bill Clinton to change the laws and to their benefit. In the 20, 30 seconds we've got left, what are the odds that we can get those laws changed back? We can bring back Glass-Steagall, et cetera.
I don't think they're particularly good. I mean, I think, if you want to talk about changes that have to be made, the thing that we have to start with is not punishing these guys by giving them billions of dollars in taxpayer money, because that's so far been the only consequence. If we can at least stop doing that,
yeah,
that'd be a good start.
That sounds like a good plan. Matt Taibbi, RollingStone.com, The Great American Bubble Machine. Matt, brilliant work. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
Great to talk with you.